It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley. I guess we can call this Juggling Wednesday.
Oh, yeah, because it's what a crazy day. I was, I a bunch of things to do yesterday, but every time I checked my phone, I was like, well, don't got to work again.
Yeah. Right.
Another one. Don't have to work again.
Right. Yeah.
Don't even have to try to find something to talk about anymore.
Right.
I did see a number of media outlets trying to come up with what to call Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, and they were trying to relate it, but we haven't. We call that. We called it first.
Yeah, trailer.
Trailer. Not just like Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez, Benifer. We came up with trailer first.
Yeah, we did.
And since all the talk is about it is all garbage, we have come up on the show with our own trailer trash update.
Yeah, and I look forward to it. I think in 2 years when Taylor Swift puts out her anti-NFL album, breakup with an NFL player album, she'll probably have trailer trash on there.
I have to tell you, our friend Richard,
a
great financial analyst, radio guy, also down in Houston.
Right.
He already came up with the song.
Oh yeah.
And listen, well, and the sexual innuendo that the song was always. She always ended up in the end zone.
It's like, I see. I see.
Like, oh my.
Let the jokes and memes begin. I guess they probably already have.
Oh yeah. Well, what I love is just some of the how social media is looking at. Let me here. This is Sean Davis from the Federalist. This is a tweet out yesterday. Taylor Swift is dumb and her music sucks.
Yeah. That was the one I was telling you that off the air, and it was I didn't read the article that he had attached to it in the
it was Mark Hemingway, which was Taylor Swift's popularity is a sign of societal decline. Audiences and elite tastemakers have decided Taylor Swift's narcissistic lyrics and cliched music are a cultural triumph. Well, so is the public.
Yeah, right.
A significant portion of the public, as you and I have said, I don't get it, but I did realize, and I let's be fully honest. Yeah. When I got to my 50th high school anniversary earlier this year, for about 2 weeks, I said, let me go back to 1973.
Yeah. Because
so many of the songs that you listen to bring back this nostalgia, and there are some great songwriters that came out of that era.
Terry Jacks. Yeah.
That's what I started thinking. I'm like, yeah, but as I went through 72, 73, because I decided to go through both of the years because that was, September 72 to, June of 83 was my senior year.
Yeah.
So I went 72, 73. There was a ton of garbage.
Yeah. Well, by the way, the older you get, and we all get older, but the older you get, and the higher the number on the reunion, high school reunion, I think there should be a lower number of death-related songs, like Seasons in the Sun. We can't play that.
What about
Goodbye, My Friend, It's Hard to Die, with a bunch of old people in the room going, What did the doctor say? What's going on here?
What was the other one? Bobby Goldsboro, not watching Scotty grow. What about the one where his wife or girlfriend dies?
Sonny?
Sonny, yes.
Yeah.
Look how big the tree is growing.
Yeah.
I only remember that one.
Oh, my God.
But remember, we also had Gilbert O'Sullivan. Get down, get down.
Yeah, I didn't.
You're a bad dog, baby.
Yeah.
No. That came up, and I'm like, God, that was horrible.
I was going to say.
And then don't forget, because he's actually around from, and we actually talked about it at our high school reunion.
Yeah.
Because he was from around Western New York, and it was Clint Holmes, "Playground in My Mind."
Oh my gosh!
My name is Michael. I have a nickel. Now, I don't think any of those songs were in any way you could say narcissistic, but they were extremely irritating.
Yeah, I just didn't want to listen to them. But I remember when we moved to San Antonio, my mom was trying to make friends. We did not live on base, and so my parents had bought their first house. I didn't know it at the time. This was their first purchase of a house. And so they were making friends in the neighborhood, the whole thing. Bring over a bundt cake and, hey, we're new to, or they would come over, hey, welcome to the neighborhood kind of thing. And my mom had this one friend, and she was always playing music. Always had music. I don't know if it was a radio or a record player. I don't remember. But it was the most depressing music. And it was the music of the time. It was I do remember that it was the songs of that era. So it tells me that it probably was a radio. And it was so depressing. And I remember being a kid like, man, I got to get out of this house. My life is going to change if I don't. I got to move on from this. I don't think I want to be your friend. Your music is crap. Give me some Judas Priest. Is Black Sabbath, are they together yet? What's going on? I need something. I need something fast and heavy. Let's go. Wow.
Oh, so, I mean, it was, and I did like, because a lot of the conservative magazines were just going through the headlines, and that's what, look, there's always going to be crap music out there, and sometimes the public is attracted to a lot of real crap music.
Oh, yeah.
Popular music at times can be pretty crappy.
Yeah.
And, we've always had fun and said, look, people like what they like, and it brings nostalgia in. I did like, though, I forgot who did it. I don't know if it was a National Review or Jim Garrity or whatever, but they went through how the media is covering this. And that's really our take on it.
Yeah,
the media going absolutely crazy about it as if it's the biggest thing. And, it's the same thing. It's sort of the same thing as, the whole, the royal family and Meghan and all that somehow we as a society wish to put people up in a pedestal or make it that their lives are, somehow things that we should be, I won't even say obsessed by, possessed by.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
seriously, that's a better word.
Come on. Taylor Swift does average pop songs.
Yeah.
Travis Kelce blocks and catches a football.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Their contributions you may find entertaining. The media coverage of it is way over the top.
Yes.
Insane.
Exactly.
And so we have fun with it. That's
right.
We have fun with it. But
yeah. The breakup's going to be horrible, though. Is he going to cry on the field, do you think? You think he'll just start crying in the middle of a play?
I do hope it's in the AFC Championship against the Bills. Make sure it's against the Bills.
Well, as we come back to the beginning of the fourth quarter, wait a minute. Hold on. Is Kelce crying? Wow, he took kneeling for a whole new reason. I think he's crying. Kaepernick is like, are you kidding me?
I said that, yes. I said I would rather, why can't we be, if we're going to talk about the NFL, I'd rather talk about Kaepernick. I wake up this morning, there it is, the letter, Kaepernick basically begging the New York Jets to even put him on their practice squad. I mean, that was even better than the trailer trash stuff yesterday.
Exactly.
It was like, because it's Kaepernick that went, the NFL, basically the NFL, the owners are the masters, we're the slaves. Well, now by his own definition, he is begging the masters to allow him to be a slave again,
right?
By,
his own standards,
by his own standards,
right?
And I got to find, because there was something on social media that said, and that's what happened to Colin. That this is this incredible radical who is out there and everything else, and what is he back to now? Begging. By his own standards, begging the masters to allow him to become a slave again. I mean, you can't make this stuff up.
Right. Either you believe it or don't.
Yeah.
If you think that he's an activist icon, think again.
Yeah, exactly.
He does not walk the walk.
Please put me on the practice squad.
Right. Yeah. Why would you even do that? Even that.
I know.
The circus. The Jets are like, oh, sorry, dude, we didn't get your letter. Sorry. Must have been a mail holiday or something.
It comes back to him.
Right. Sorry, I don't know. Maybe you need to put an extra stamp on it next time. We didn't get it, though, but, good luck.
Letter refused.
Return to sender on the envelope. Oh, my gosh, I'd love to see that. I'll be shocked if the New York Post hasn't already done a mock article on that with return to sender on the, on the envelope. But why would you even want to create that kind of chaos, even on the practice squad? Because it would be nothing but media. And then what happens? You put him on the practice squad. Oh, you're going to let him go? You're going to let him go? No, sorry, dude. We didn't get your letter.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, we didn't get your letter.
And just one wonders. Remember at the beginning of the season, I said, well, it was 3 weeks ago. I went, well, no more Colin Kaepernick talk. Man, was I wrong.
How dare you underestimate Colin Kaepernick?
Maybe he was listening and went, whoa. So you told me, look for the New York Post, so I'm looking for it. So I'm scanning down at the first article I see.
Yeah.
Taking it to the house. Travis Kelce's homes are no match for Taylor Swift.
Okay. No. It's interesting because I thought that, okay, she's worth like $1 trillion. I don't know what his salary is. Has anybody compared those yet?
No.
I mean, the Post is kind of going that direction here, but.
Yeah, exactly.
But. Yeah.
I actually thought the best story was, the best football story was Dolphins receiver Tyreek Hill wants to be a porn star when he retires, and dead serious is
That's your next move. Usually it's, I've got some real estate businesses that I'm a part of, and we hope to, that's what I'm probably going to be doing doing some consulting, maybe doing some broadcasting. What do you want to do? Porn! Okay.
It's not
That's one way.
It's not the victimhood story. I was forced to do porn.
Right.
It's like, this is my life's goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have any other goals?
That's
None?
your number
None?
one goal?
None? You don't have anything else you'd like to do?
Come on, a lot of football players and ex-athletes are, their next goal is golf.
Right. Hey, you know what? I'd like to play some maybe pro-am thing, maybe. I love golf, see what I can do, how to improve my score, that kind of thing,
Colin Kaepernick appeals to Jets in letter for risk-free practice squad chance.
Risk-free?
Risk-free.
Wait, he's telling them risk-free. Risk-free. Colin Kaepernick is telling an NFL team it would be risk-free.
Listen how he wrote this. I would be honored and extremely grateful for the opportunity to come in and lead the practice squad. I would do this with the sole mission of getting your defense ready each week.
I'm sorry, I thought you said the word lead. Did you say lead?
Yes, lead. Unless it's lead. Heavy lead just dragged the practice squad down.
Oh, my gosh.
I would do this with the sole mission of getting your defense ready each week. If I were able to fill this role, I believe this allows for multiple things. Now, the beauty about this is he rejected the NFL because he said he had a higher purpose.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that was the whole thing. I have a higher purpose, whatever. My higher purpose is to tell complete lies about police departments in order to get rich in other ways. But I'm a superstar. I'm a champion. But he went from promoting the fact that he's a superstar champion to now wanting to be Rudy.
Yeah, right. Exactly. My gosh. Risk-free.
Well, the left, they just changed the definition of words or phrases, and so risk-free must mean the opposite.
Exactly. He's telling them it would be risk-free. He just admitted what the scenario is.
Yeah, he did.
He just admitted, he just lined out basically how this would all go down ahead of time. Risk-free. What do you mean risk-free? Wow. Yeah. Yeah. The moment you open that door, because at some point you've got to close that door. Colin Kaepernick is not a starting quarterback.
And by the way, the day that story came out, the Jets signed quarterback Trevor Siemian to their practice squad.
There you go. Who's his girlfriend?
Dude.
He's dating Britney Spears. Here we go. All right.
866-90 Red Eye.
This preventative maintenance tip is brought to you by Hot Shot Secret, the country's #1 fastest growing oil and additive company. If you've been driving a diesel any length of time, you know diesel fuel quality can be an issue. There are U.S. standards that diesel fuel is supposed to meet, like cetane number, lubricity, aka wear protection, deposit control. But oftentimes the fuel at the pump falls short. Let's highlight diesel fuel's cetane number. In most states, the minimum a cetane number can be is 40. Through years of testing, Hot Shot Secret has found the average cetane number across the nation is between 42 to 45. And most modern engines are built and tuned to operate best with a cetane number closer to 50. This is why a premium additive is needed to keep cetane numbers up, to keep the engine operating at its best while helping with fuel economy and DPF regeneration cycles. Add Hot Shot Secret Everyday Diesel Treatment, a 6-in-1 fuel booster at every fill-up to keep cetane numbers in a premium range while also protecting your fuel system. Learn more about the science behind diesel fuel and Hot Shot Secret's Everyday Diesel Treatment at hotshotsecret.com.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. Shell Rotella, with advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Hurley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up, Biden on the picket line for a couple of minutes. Interesting, the story out yesterday after Biden was there. Sean Fain, head of the UAW, said Trump doesn't need to show. He doesn't need to talk to Trump. And he made it known, and we'll have the quote from Sean Fain. He made the very clear, if you're a UAW worker listening right now, we know we have a lot of them, he made it quite clear his job is to take your union dues and kill your chances of surviving as a union. Yeah. He made it absolutely clear yesterday on that, which is really an amazing admission, because he said they're all for the Green Revolution, but the transition has to be done where it's fair, and the union does great,
right?
Which only leads to one thing.
Yep.
Taxpayer subsidies of the UAW. That isn't happening for any long period of time.
No, it's not going to happen anytime soon.
giving you 70% each night. Eric Harley and Gary McNamara on Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you so much for being here. I just want to read this one email that we got based on yesterday's show, which was, I thought, really a good show. Mm-hmm. And people may have missed parts of the show, and that's fine. But it's like, this is, let me see, Tony from Ocala, Florida, who wrote to me and said, I'm not sure whether you had a problem with the fact that proceeds received when selling concert tickets may be taxable, or a problem with the fact that the new law captures the information for the IRS about ticket sales. I could not tell based on the discussion, but what is clear is that everything you were talking about last night has been taxable forever. People may not routinely have reported ticket reselling in prior years, but it is and has been taxable forever. In fact, the general rule is you must report on your tax return all income from any source, including the $10 bill you found on the ground the other day. Eric and I were both suggesting that people should not have to pay their taxes on income.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I had a couple of responses on that level. And I think we made it very clear. If you're making money, you have to pay taxes on it, and that's how it works. The difference is setting up this system here then requires those that are selling things on eBay or any other platform and not doing it for a profit. They're just cleaning out the closet. They want to list some things that they've got up there, and they're not going to make a profit on it. Now they have the burden of proving they lost money on it.
Right, and we had, we believe everybody should pay their taxes. Look, when the Republicans and Trump increased Eric and Gary's taxes a few years back.
Morons.
I love that. And by the way, it's true. And both Eric and I were in the same situation where there certain things that business things that we were involved in became taxable. In order to give the tax cut to some, others had to pay
certain
more.
deductions went away.
Right, certain deductions, business deductions went away.
Ted Cruz.
Which, by the way, why was he for that?
Oh yeah, I mean that was part of it, and he was one of those that was out there saying, "Listen, you're going to be able to do your taxes on a postcard."
Oh, okay.
Well, still not doing it on a postcard.
Well, the reason, very quickly, the reason we were against it is because that if there is I'll be generic here because I don't want to get into the specific details, but if you are going to have a business tax, to have a tax, and we said for Republicans to put forth and tax things that that give a disincentive to create more wealth is a bad tax for Republicans to have. Mm-hmm. And the specific things that Eric and I were both involved with, business deductions, made it so we can make more money and actually get into a higher tax bracket.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do that, then everybody benefits, that the creation of wealth, there. But overall, we were for the tax plan. Just make it clear. But we looked and said, okay, we're against that. But here, no, everybody should pay their taxes. What we're talking about is the extra work created because of the income tax, and where government may go on it. And when you talk about our specific thing was the paperwork you may have to get involved with if you actually don't make a profit and have losses.
Yeah.
And the paperwork and the verification that would be required, for you when, as we've stated, we very clearly, my taxes, for the most part, has simplified over the years. But the fact is, the company knows the vast majority of my income because my employers or whoever report it. So they know.
Mm-hmm.
So there really isn't a problem. They know that's income. Now, my deductions, they'll either take or they don't take. But here is a case where you're talking about transactions that are made where you have to prove that can go anywhere from, as we call it, an online garage sale. And so many of the variables that might happen in the future and where the left may go on it. It was not at all a show on stating that you, if you have income, should not have to pay your taxes.
Right. You know, you look at the consideration for the IRS overall, and really that was kind of the underlying theme or foundation for the thoughts being conveyed and what we talked about for years. The IRS being involved in every aspect of your life, now to the point of you're going to sell some old records. You're not going to make a profit on it, but you're going to sell some old records. And see, here's the thing. Unless you have those receipts from all those records you bought back in the day, if you are at any point, if they come in and audit, it's you that has the burden of proving what you paid and that you didn't, like that $10 bill on the street, just find a bunch of albums or someone didn't give them to you for free.
Great point. Right. Yep.
So those are the things that we look at. And I understand with e-commerce and also with the way that money moves now, it's crazy. The fact that, I mean, I love all the payouts that if I need to send my sister some money to chip in for something we're buying for our parents or something, it lands in her bank account like now. She can use it now. She doesn't have to wait for me to mail a check. And so all of these things, you know, are great and wonderful. And yeah, if you've got a side gig and you're making money, you have to report that. And you want to report that because the idea is if they come in and then realize, and wait a minute, you're not reporting this money you're making, then that's tax evasion. That's a very serious crime. And you can say, look, we can go in and say we need to gut the IRS and change tax code permanently on a number of items. But until that's done, if you're not abiding by the law, then it can be very, very serious for you.
Yes, but we do believe that people should pay their taxes. If we did not, then we would believe that Hunter Biden should skate free.
Exactly.
The other point would be political. The political justification of this by the Democrats, which is the lie that they're going after billionaires in this case.
Right.
Which was
exactly
been all along. And so that's the lie because they know that there's going to be a backlash from the public on it. But it was looking at the burden that is put on people on things that are not clear income and things that they can't prove.
Right.
That is a problem, and the future of what it may bring. For example, because we gave the example of, not just concert tickets you may make a profit on, or sports tickets that you may make a profit on, but all the other apps that they're going to be looking into, all the platforms. And we used, for example, eBay. And in case you weren't listening yesterday, I said I've got over 1,000 CDs, and if I decided to get rid of those CDs on eBay. Because I have put them all on digital. They're all on my computer now, and I don't need them anymore. I've got them backed up and backed up and backed up. So it's like I'll have these songs, forever. Right. My entire Taylor Swift collection.
Yeah,
and
the box set.
So if I go to sell them, I would look like a store on eBay. Because I'd have thousands of, because each one you're selling individually.
And there are a lot of people out there that are exactly in that spot that have, like I said, my buddy that's got, he's got several bedrooms and rooms in his house filled with crates of vinyl.
Right. And so we talked about the possibility of what would happen after, and Eric brought up a great thing. He said, well, what if the IRS comes and then the discussion came up, well, what about inflation?
Yeah.
What about appreciation?
Right.
What about, depreciation? How do you figure all of this, out in there? There's so many questions and it's such a mess. And then Eric actually brought up a great point that again, how would a court rule it? He said, well, wait a minute. You took all of your music and you put it on digital. So you actually still retain the value of that.
Right.
Of
the
what
content,
you bought.
You're
the
still
content.
Retaining.
Right. And so we were doing and that's actually not a hypothetical.
Right.
That's something that somebody may, because everybody sells CDs, records, whatever. Well, I put it on digital. So I have the value, because the value was not the actual CD. It wasn't the package.
Right.
The value was the music, which I still have,
Right.
could the IRS come out and say, well, you'll still retain that value, and since you're selling 1,000 of these, and let's say I sell them for $10 each, and it's $10,000, that I have got in, is that income,
Right.
even though I paid for all the CDs? And I'm just talking about, these are the court battles that are coming up.
Right.
And we were just talking about, these are the challenges we face because of an income tax, where the government then gets involved in every little stinking aspect of your life. And I don't want a tax system like that, where the government can monitor everything that you do. It shouldn't be that. To pay taxes, it shouldn't be that way. And that's why, for example, we look at it, and people say, well, you have to have the income tax because other means of taxes don't provide that consistent income. Well, that's incorrect. Look at the state of Texas and the state of Florida. They don't have income taxes,
Right.
and they're able to run. And the state of Florida and the state of the state of Texas are as big as many countries out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is our continued push and our belief that the income tax should eventually go away. Now, it's going to be replaced by something else.
Right.
We're not saying no taxes,
Right.
but we're just highlighting the problems and the potential of government intrusion into your life, especially that we know that the IRS has been corrupt and has done things to people based on their politics.
Yep.
It's no longer, well, you guys are talking about a hypothetical of what could happen. We know it's already happened.
Right. And, I looked into it even further. I went home and kept reading on the IRS website. I don't know why. I guess I'm a glutton.
You're sick.
Yeah, I might be. And I was looking into it because we had some questions coming in, from listeners. And thank you, everybody, for, being engaged in it and also, listening. And we talked about how, all right, here's what if you have receipts, what if you don't have receipts. It actually tells you, the IRS says, on these personal items you sell, if you're selling them for a gain, and then also, and you have a mixed batch of things you're selling, and some for a loss, you have to separate them. Now, I know what the intent is when lawmakers were probably putting this together. If you're buying something, and this happens actually, we have a friend of the family who does this. She goes and gets all these closeout things on kids' clothing, and she fills every room in her house with it. I mean, she's got her own business right there in her house, and then she resells them. So in the summer, she buys all the winter clothes, and then all of a sudden in the fall, that's her inventory to sell it online. And it's a side gig. That should be taxable. That she should be paying taxes on. There's no doubt. And I understand what the intent is. But what we have a concern with is, again, your scenario. Well, you've got a collection. What about this? You look at it, and because you retain the content, they might say, well, not only did you do that and you had $10,000 in revenue from this, this is a business. This is a legitimate business. You're setting this up like a business, and we're going to go after you. And there's the problem. And by the way, when I was, to finish up here, I was looking at the website, the IRS website, and it says, look, it's gross revenue. It's gross revenue. It's not, it's the $600 of gross whatever is transferred on the pay app. Whatever's transferred on the pay app, you're going to have to prove that wasn't a profit. Well, on the site, it says if you get a 1099K form by mistake from one of the platforms or pay apps, you essentially have to reach out or prove that was a mistake, and you have to claim it. What if you're audited and you can't prove it was a mistake? Those are the problems we have with this. This is overreach by the IRS.
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Coming up following the top of the hour. Not much analysis on that judge in New York and his decision on fraud with the Trump Corporation yesterday. We have so many different questions, and I can't find any analysis on it at all.
Right,
I haven't been able to find any type of legal analysis on it because we have so many different questions to ask and question about this judge, as we do for all cases. Plus, Hunter Biden. They hacked my laptop. I mean, this is just the most bizarre thing. Plus, the UAW and more, all coming up.
Top of the hour news is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across the USA and around the world, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Well, I never took a break during the top of the hour. Yeah. You and I having a discussion yesterday, just over the last couple of minutes, about the judge that said that Trump committed fraud in his real estate dealings. Now, this is a partial summary judgment, which is the purpose of a partial summary judgment is to simplify a trial by ruling on some claims.
Right.
So
yeah, there's still other things that will be ruled on, and it's a non-jury trial that will proceed. And Letitia James is the Attorney General for New York, state of New York, and so she is this going to be move forward with the rest of this trial. But when you look at the judges, this would be a Manhattan Supreme Court, a Manhattan-based state Supreme Court judge, who basically ruled, and I want to make sure I get this accurate here, ruled yesterday that Trump and his company are liable for fraud by misstating the true values of multiple real estate properties for years and thus grossly overstating the former president's net worth by billions of dollars. This is Judge Arthur Engoron, and in his bombshell, the word used here at CNBC, decision, also canceled the New York business certificates of Trump, the Trump Organization, and the other defendants, including his two of his sons, and in a lawsuit, this is part of the lawsuit by the Attorney General's office. The judge said he would appoint an independent receiver to manage the dissolution of the corporate entities whose business certificates he canceled. So every story that I have read on this in recent hours has something similar to the following. Again, this from CNBC. It's not clear whether Engoron's decision means the Trump Organization and related entities will have to completely cease doing business in New York, or whether the companies can be legally reconstituted later. And others were asking, can he just take these companies and move them out of state? And a spokesperson for the Attorney General, the State Attorney General, Letitia James, didn't comment to CNBC. I mean, I don't know. There's going to be, I think, during the day on Wednesday, a lot of breakdown of this, and I'm looking forward to that because you and I have a ton of questions. We're going back and forth in terms of what this is going to mean. But
it's the same.
What he's
by the way,
saying,
just quickly, it's the same. It's the same questions we have because what the judge is saying he is guilty of is the same questions that we have. That is that actually fraud?
Because in granting partial summary judgment to James on the fraud claim. The judge found that Trump made false and misleading valuations for multiple real estate assets in statements to insurers and banks for years as he sought more favorable terms on insurance coverage and loans. Question number one, was he granted more favorable terms? And if he was, did the banks and insurers do their due diligence with appraisals? That's how it works. If you go, anybody who's purchased a home, refied a home, or whatever, when you refinance a home or buy a home, the bank wants to know exactly what that value of that home is right now. And they send an appraiser. When it comes to insurers, when you talk about insurance for real estate, and I've never checked in for this. I know life insurance, you can, they'll let you buy, I think it works most of the time based on your health. But then beyond that, multiples of how much you earn or whatever, you can buy policies, but you're going to pay a premium,
right?
The more the coverage you get. And so my question would be, again, was there any evidence of, and because he's just the judge here, this state Supreme Court judge, is just throwing out the word fraud. It was all fraud. Well, are you saying that his claim or claims now, and you said it happened, for years, these claims, what was granted on the other side? Was he granted consideration blindly by banks and by insurance companies without appraisals?
Right. Where's the damage?
Who is the damage?
Who was damaged by the fraud when you talk about real estate? And this is what was promoted from the very beginning, and our questions are still the same. When you throw, and we've talked about when everybody gets their property tax bill, and you're fighting it all the time. Now, we've often stated that, well, wait a minute. What I'm being thrown first off from the county as to what my property is worth, well, they're not right. Is that fraud?
Right.
Whether I win, because I remember what the last time that I protested my property tax, and I honestly looked at I looked at the comps and compared everything and said I can actually come up with this figure, even though I thought, well, it really isn't that low. It probably is somewhere in here. I could justify it by comps.
Yeah.
All right, but part of me said, I'll take the gamble here. I can justify it by comps, but I really don't believe that, I believe it's somewhere in the middle is where it should be. Well, I lost 2-1.
Right.
Which means, and there's no in between. It's either the lower number or the higher number. They don't sit there and go, well, we'll put it somewhere in between.
Right.
And so the higher number went, but I thought the higher number was unfair, and there's no way I could sell my house, for that. I can't file fraud on that, but I believe they were wrong on that higher number.
Right.
And the funny thing is, one of the appraisers for the county agreed with me that it should be the way lower number. My point is, fraud is if I go for a credit card and use your social security number and your name and somehow get it for me, that's fraud.
Yeah. If you go to get a loan against an asset that you don't own and claiming that you own it,
right?
That's when you don't. If you rented a house and then you wanted to get a loan for it, but here's the thing. Here are the checks and balances in the private sector. If we're talking about, in this case, the judge inflating values of real estate to get more favorable terms from insurers and banks. Well, show me where he crossed that line and the banks didn't do their due diligence, the insurers didn't do their due diligence. Because then I would argue, Well, they went out and took a great risk in terms of, the risk they take every day and that would be a risk, by the way, to shareholders if it's a publicly owned company by granting loans, not doing their due diligence.
But I haven't heard any private sector bank come out and say we were ripped off by the Trump organization.
This is
now, you may get that. I'm talking about right now.
Right.
You haven't heard
That's
any
what
of
we're
that
asking.
all across the board.
That's what we're asking.
And if they were, then did they not do their due diligence like all of us have to go through when we try to get any type of loan?
Were the favorable terms even granted? Because the way that it was, in an effort to get more favorable terms, were they granted or not? Did he say that and repeatedly get turned down in terms of those favorable terms? Was there a measurement? Can you say that, well, we believe that's his attempt was clearly to get more favorable terms? Where are the banks, again, like you said, where are the banks and insurers saying, we believe we were damaged because that's much greater risk? And we believe we were damaged because he lied to us. That may exist somewhere, but it's not brought up. And if it had been to this point, I would think that a New York State Supreme Court justice would show that, and that especially the Attorney General of the state of New York
let me ask you this.
Demonstrate that in their lawsuit.
If it was all favorable terms, which means more income or for you, would not the IRS that's constantly auditing Trump not have flagged some of those things a long time ago?
I would think so. I would think so.
And so I know when it comes to these things, it can be complicated, but I'm waiting to see, because I have not seen anybody who I view as credible legally that has taken this on and said, okay, here's where the judge has a point or where it's bogus. But those are still, they're the same questions we have from the very beginning of when this, that's the thing. None of my questions have been answered.
Because again, when, he sought more favorable terms, the first question, was he granted more favorable terms? Second question would be, why or what due diligence did the banks do, and were they defrauded during that due diligence? If the bank showed up to a property that he was claiming or something, and it wasn't part of that property or something like that, where the appraiser shows up, and the appraiser is just walking around with a clipboard or whatever, and he's saying, well, this is part of it and that's part of it. Okay, demonstrate that then. I haven't seen that anywhere since the beginning. By the way, we had a very similar conversation when Letitia James, the Attorney General of the state of New York, filed this lawsuit. When she first filed, it was like, because that's exactly her claim.
Well, the interesting...
And she was granted as such, and the judge here, the justice for the state Supreme Court in New York, granted that based on almost verbatim what she's claiming.
We all know when we refi or whatever, the bank doesn't care what your appraisal is.
Right.
They could care less.
Right.
You could tell them anything. We don't care. We don't pay attention to it. We're sending out our appraiser. It's, hey, we're giving you the money. And so we do the appraisal, and our appraisal matters. Take it or leave it, or go to another bank.
Right. Well, because there are a couple of things that are part of an equation that can help you get higher credit lines, lower interest, debt to income ratio, assets, of course, and that's what we're talking about here. Then, on like a home loan on a much simpler level, for most of us, is the loan-to-value ratio. And the loan-to-value ratio is important because then they charge you primary mortgage insurance if it's over 80% loan-to-value ratio, the loan. If it's above that, and you borrow 90, I think, during the entire prime lending thing or subprime lending thing, it was 95 or 100% for some. They would loan up to 100% of the but you pay mortgage insurance. It's an extra payment every month. And those are the things that you look at. But the process itself, by him saying it, demonstrate where the damage is. Because if the banks never granted more favorable terms, and where is the claim?
And if it went on for a significant period of time, as the judge is saying, and no banks ever said they were damaged after repeatedly loaning him money over and over and over again, then where's the fraud if nobody is damaged?
Right.
If there's no victim, where's the fraud?
Right.
866-98 Red Eye.
This owner-operator driver report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. Shell Rotella with advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. Managing time is key. Successful owner-operators know that simply running hard is not enough. If it were that easy, anyone could do the job and expect the profits to roll in. It generally pays to slow down. There is a trade-off in higher costs, not to mention the increased risk for driving fast. If driving slower takes time away from you, you could find some of the ways to get it back. Never take time off during the last 2 weeks of the quarter or the last week of the month, when freight typically is abundant. Sometimes it works to your advantage to look for loads that take you through home rather than to home. The latter can interrupt your revenue stream and require additional time to get back up to full speed again.
This report is brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. I'm Gary McNamara. He is Eric Harley.
Hey,
good morning.
Breaking news.
What?
Happy birthday.
We were into a discussion there in the break, and somehow I just, oh, wow.
It's Gary McNamara's birthday
It's
today.
like I forgot it was my birthday. It's like we're an hour and 26 minutes into it. And it's like, I said, I completely forgot.
Yeah.
That's how busy it's been.
We can't violate a fire code for this building by having all the candles on the cake, but we'll just do one. You know what it means.
Happy birthday to me.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to me.
Right. It's interesting because in the whole Red Eye family, over the years and going back to our old show even, we have some late September birthdays that are all in one kind of group of days. My lovely daughter, my youngest daughter, September 23rd, this last Saturday, had a great time. One of my grandchildren, number 4, turned 15 yesterday. She's awesome. Took her out to dinner recently, and our friend and former producer at our flagship WBAP, David Pena.
Oh, his birthday?
He had his
was
birthday.
around
It was it was the other day.
Oh, okay.
And then of course your birthday here. So
I thought you were going to say that in the entire time of us working together, I've always been the oldest one on the staff.
yeah, that's true. It's weird.
That's where I thought you were headed.
It's weird. You would think I would catch up. Now, there are my biological age, the millionaire that's changed.
Mm-hmm.
Mine's going in the opposite direction of his. I think I can prove I'm actually 78.
And the reason we were talking about doctor stuff. I was at the doctor yesterday, and we were talking about different things, and so my age came up, and I looked at you and said, "Oh my God, it's my birthday! I forgot."
Right. Yeah.
But I did ask my doctor about that story we did the other day. I said, "You see that story about the guy who claims he can live forever?" I went, "Yeah." Mm-hmm. And let's put it this way: my doctor looked at me and I said, "That isn't true, is it?" And he looked at me, and I've never heard him curse, and he goes, "That's bull," and he used it.
That's the kind of doctor you want, by the way.
And he said,
straight to the point.
And he said, it looks like, he goes, whatever your beliefs are, he goes, Mother Nature, the Big Bang, God. He goes, it looks like we're basically maxed out. The ultimate max out is 120.
Yeah.
So it's
right.
Like, he goes, that's the ultimate max out. He said, and most people don't get there. He goes, but that's the limit.
Well,
he goes, I don't see anything that's going to change that. He said in the next couple of centuries.
Well, and it's always, a man or woman who's like always lived in the Himalayas and then they ask him, well, what's your secret to a long life? About a half a gallon of bourbon a day.
I
get up every morning and start with bourbon or something weird. It's like,
I like the old women that do that.
Yeah.
The
I have
elderly
a
women
whiskey
that go,
every day.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Something like that.
I have a shot of whiskey every day. Really?
I'm doing it wrong then.
Wow, that gives me hope.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he's Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. We've been talking about the judge in New York that said Trump committed fraud. We basically in his real estate business holdings. We go to Richard in Frederick, Maryland. Richard, welcome. You're on Red Eye Radio. Welcome to the show. Hi.
Hi, and happy birthday to a fellow Libra.
Thank you, Richard. Appreciate it. What's up?
Yeah, mine's on Thursday.
All right. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you very much. I work hard to get to this stage.
We all have. What's up?
I'm trying to a couple things. I'm trying to figure out who filed the original complaint with the Attorney General's office in order to start the investigation.
The Attorney General.
What financial institution?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So no financial institution has been defrauded.
That's our question. It's not a complaint by anyone else other than Letitia James, the Attorney General for the state of New York. This is this lawsuit filed by her.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
My other question is, if the Trump organizations are paying their bills and they're up to date, and there's no complaints from other financial institutions on delays of payment or anything else, what's the crime?
Right.
Well, you just made me think of something. If you're looking where some private entity or bank, financial institution would have sued Trump for fraud, it would have been during some of his bankruptcies, would it not?
Yeah, I mean there are a number of I guess different transactions or periods where you could look into it and say, and again, because we don't know, this is why this reeks of something that is again an overreach by the Attorney General, and also an overreach in the judgment by the justice in New York. But this is a very simple scenario with the information we have at the moment. It's a very simple scenario to understand and brings up a lot of questions. The judgment itself, the claim and the judgment bring up a ton of questions here. Where is the claim by the banks or insurers that, hey, whoa, we took a greater risk because he lied to us. We gave him favorable terms because he lied to us. There would have been a greater scrutiny, risk assessment, different rates involved, and he damaged with insurance, he damaged our earnings. The banks, same thing with, because, you would pay your premium based on what the risk might be. You would also pay your premium. Anybody who knows, if you live in, if you buy a beach house, you're going to pay for that storm coverage, right? Okay, these are the things that add up to your premium. The same thing on insurance. The same thing with banks. Well, if it's a greater risk, because we believe your wealth isn't as high and all of these items are a concern, then we believe your ability to repay or the likelihood of default is going up, or the ability to repay the loan and meet all of these covenants is going to be greatly compromised. We assign a greater interest rate to it, and where's that claim? I need to see those claims.
I remember when the last time that I filed my property taxes, and I was in there and I just said, yeah, but I do the other comps here, and it doesn't, per square foot, it doesn't fit here at all.
Right.
They go, yeah, but those homes are a little bit bigger than yours. I go, well, how does that affect the square foot?
Right.
Feet.
Right.
Well, because if you have a smaller home, yours is worth more per square foot. I said, why? He couldn't answer the question.
Right.
And I understand it's true, but to me, I'm like, well, why? I mean, there's so many things you could look at. You go, that's unfair. Therefore, you're not telling me the truth. Truth because of it. Now, when he said, for example, I've got the moat.
Yeah.
That I have the moat around my house, the pool, and that I have nobody behind me.
The view that you have.
The view that I have. Well, that
goes back to location.
Right. That's location. I can say, okay, that could make sense. But when he just said, well, no, your house is smaller, therefore you pay more per square foot.
And I'm not a tax assessor, never have been, but generally speaking, that's not the case. Now, depending on the materials used to build the house, the amenities, the age of the house, it is going to be higher per square foot. And it also is the current market, of what the cost is per square foot. There's consideration there. But simply because it's smaller, I've never heard that before. And I could be wrong. I could be learning something. So
and when I heard that, I went, well, you don't even know why. Well, if you're saying that, are you, and so I'm thinking, just because we're talking about fraud, well, isn't that fraud? If you can't tell me why I have to pay more.
Right.
And you just say that's the way that it is, if you can't answer my financial question, is that not a form of fraud?
Right. And that's
morally, I'm not saying legally it would be.
Well, because
but morally.
I think the impact here in terms of the political motivation by Letitia James, the Attorney General of the state of New York, and quite possibly by the judge here, is the political motivation is to go in and undercut and try and show to the world, see, he claimed, and this has been going on for years, that Trump claims he's worth this many billions, and he's actually only worth this many billions. I forget who it was. Was it Forbes or Fortune or one of the publications that said, oh, he's not worth $10 billion. He says $10 billion. His net worth is only worth $2 or $3 billion or whatever it was.
Nobody cares about that as a topic. I thought, isn't that so 2015?
It is.
Let's go to Reading, Kansas City, because he's bringing up something that you brought up off the air. We just haven't talked about it on the air, but you specifically asked this question. Red, welcome. You're on Red Eye Radio. Welcome to the show. Hi.
Thank you. Good morning, guys. Happy birthday and all that.
Thank you.
But my question is jurisdiction. What gives a state judge in New York the ability or the right to assess somebody's worth in other states?
Right.
Trump was complaining today that this judge said Mar-a-Lago was only worth $18 million.
Right. We failed to mention that on the air. Yes.
Get to assess property in Florida.
He doesn't. He has no jurisdiction there. And so this is one of the concerns by the Trump attorney, is that, this is complete overreach and the whole thing. Again, I think there are many questions about this. The next stop is going to be on the decision that came down yesterday. The next stop is the U.S. Supreme Court, right? District. Appellate court.
This would go to federal court.
Yeah. It'll go to federal court, and I guess it would be the whatever district that is in, and then on to the Supreme Court. But I think it will get there.
Probably it would first go to the state Supreme Court, Court of Appeals, State Supreme Court, Court of Appeals of New York.
Well, that's what I wondered
because it would.
Because this judge is a state Supreme Court justice.
Right. I mean, it may. I don't know because the appeal is filed by the Trump attorney. So I don't. This case is so like everything we talk about is so bizarre.
Yeah.
I don't know. They may sit there and take it directly. Parts of it they may take to appeal to the state. Parts of it they may take it to a federal court.
Yeah.
They
Thanks for the call.
They could do both on there.
Yeah,
maybe because that was weird when it's like, well, what are you dealing with Mar-a-Lago?
You don't have the jurisdiction here, and neither does the Attorney General of New York. Now, any damage that was caused to any other entity or persons inside the state, you got to show where that damage is, and she can say his entire portfolio, which included properties outside the state of New York, but there is no remedy other than what they're trying to do here, what they said they were going to do, and that's take their business license. He can't do business in the state of New York. She's seeking ultimately, by the way, the Attorney General of New York, $250 million, and basically does not want him to be able, or his family, to be able to do business in the state of New York ever again.
Did you see the, Eric Trump when, he just said, I had nothing to do with any of this.
Right.
I mean, my name to even be on any of this.
Right.
None of these decisions were mine. I wasn't even involved in that department of doing something like that.
Right.
And he said, that's how you know this is false, the fact that they've included me in on it.
Right, yeah. No, I think this has a very good chance of being reversed. There are too many red flags in the decision itself.
Yeah, I can't tell you if it's going to be reversed because I still don't understand precisely where the fraud is.
Well, that's why. Because if Letitia James and this state court justice, Supreme Court justice here in the state of New York, both could demonstrate that fraud, here's what he did. He went in and committed fraud here, here, here. If you're talking general overinflation in an effort to get more favorable terms, again, we start with, okay, were the more favorable terms granted? Who was damaged by that? Was there due diligence? What scenario are we talking about? Because due diligence would include appraisals from bankers and insurers. That's the way it works. So did they come back and challenge that?
Oh, here's one. Did somebody because you're trying to find where the crime actually is, where the damage would be done. Mm-hmm. Did somebody from the Trump organization pay off the appraiser from the bank?
Yeah, right.
That would be, so if you're looking for a crime, that's where you'd look for it. Mm-hmm. If that's the case, yeah. If that happened, and nobody is making that accusation, it did.
Right.
But if that did happen, well,
that would be bribery.
At that point, that's bribery,
and I don't see a bribery charge here.
It's not. That wouldn't be fraud because the bribe is what would.
Bribery is fraudulent, but the charge itself would be a bribe.
Would be a bribe on
so,
that. Right.
So those are the things. Is that because everyone in the media has some form of, we're not sure what this means for the businesses that he owns in the state of New York. Everybody's scratching their head on this. And that's the big red flag for me, is that there were too many questions unanswered that are still unanswered here. And no analysis from the judgment where you could say, here is specifically and clearly where he broke the law. He lied about this property and then lied to appraisers or whatever. Again, I go back to the due diligence of the banks and the insurers.
The only one I saw was the one that said he claimed that his the penthouse was 33,000 square feet, whereas it was only 11,000 square feet. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I said, okay, but where do you get more of a favor? My next question was, where do you get more of a favorable term by doing that?
Right. What's
the favorable term? You would get less favorable term because the asset would be worth less.
Mm-hmm.
So
if he's claiming that it's bigger, then the asset would be worth more. If he's claiming it's
claiming it was smaller.
Oh, okay.
That's what
All
I
right.
saw.
I thought you were saying. Okay. I thought you were
That's
saying
how it was
bigger.
written in the article. Maybe,
Right.
maybe it was the opposite way, but I read it. The one article I read was it was 33,000 feet. He claimed it was 11.
Okay. That may have been part of this. Part of it was living area, and this other part was
Okay.
business,
Yeah.
commercial.
It could be. Yep.
Commercial space. So,
like I said, there has been no analysis. I've looked in the the financial magazines, whatever. I mean that understand this, probably a lot better. Understand what the charges are based on what the actual law is.
well, and also
that's what
the charges,
New York law.
the lawsuit by the Attorney General's office is not new.
No.
Where's the analysis on those charges?
866-90-RED-EYE.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
This is really interesting. Here it goes. In addition to Trump, the judge found that two of his adult children, Eric Trump and Donald Trump, and two longtime Trump Organization employees were also liable for fraud. Eric Trump, in a post on X, said, "We have run an exceptional company, never missed a loan payment, making banks hundreds of millions of dollars, developing some of the most iconic assets in the world. Yet today, the persecution of our family continues." Donald Trump on X called the ruling nonsensical and asinine. This is just interesting. I mean, it really, just legally, I want to see. I'm amazed that there wasn't any analysis on this yesterday from any really financial news outlet out there.
Well, and that's what it comes down to, because again, as I mentioned going into the break, of course, the claim by the Attorney General's office, the lawsuit is not new. It's been out there. The claims have been out there for a long time. Where is the journalism to find the damage done to bankers or the banks and the insurers?
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, you were just going through the actual case there, and we got other stuff you want to talk about, but I think it's interesting that you were just telling me from the research you've done from this judge's ruling, which was based on a state precedent that was set, that, and I'll just give the overview, and you can give the details, is that according to the state precedent set, fraud can be committed if there is no victim, even if the
remedy
part
for that can be a certain remedy and doesn't have to be restitution.
Right. But there doesn't have to be a victim. That means there is because you pay
the victim
you pay
is immaterial. Is
right,
what they're basically saying.
That there doesn't matter whether the victim is completely happy. Doesn't matter whether the victim says no, there was no fraud. It's simply the fact of not what was lost, but you gained something on the fraud, even though there was nothing that was lost. And you and I looking at this, both rolling our eyes, going, "Whoa."
Well, and this comes from actually Trump's lawyers and they're citing case law, and it's the people that would be the people of New York versus Ernst and Young. I'm not familiar with the case, but they talk about. So this would be Trump lawyers were saying that disgorgement is available under the Martin Act, but not under executive law. So disgorgement, the remedy here that the court is providing, or that the state attorney general is seeking, basically kicking you out, you can't do business here, is not under executive law, does not apply. And then the court comes back and cites the Ernst & Young case. Again, this is a case in the state of New York. Whereas here, this is from the Ernst & Young case, but they're applying it here. Whereas here, there is a claim based on fraudulent activity, disgorgement may be available as an equitable remedy, notwithstanding the absence of loss to individuals or independent claims for restitution. Disgorgement is distinct from the remedy of restitution because it focuses on the gain of the wrongdoer, red flag, as opposed to the loss to the victim. Number one, I don't know the Ernst & Young case, but wrongdoer is the claim by the Attorney General's office, and that was where we go back and say, show us the wrongdoing, show us this, where they actually crossed the line and broke the law. The Trump organization, Donald Trump and his two sons. Thus, disgorgement aims to deter wrongdoing by preventing the wrongdoer from retaining ill-gotten gains from fraudulent conduct. Oh, man, there's a lot to unpack there.
I know.
Accordingly, the remedy of disgorgement does not require a showing or allegation of direct losses to consumers or the public. The source of the ill-gotten gains is immaterial. Oh, I'd love to see that argued at the Supreme Court. I don't. Maybe it has been, and I don't know it. But man, I've got a ton of questions there. In other words, we can just take your ability to do business here. All right. Let's again go back to the beginning. Show us the law that was broken and exactly where, what event where that was unlawful. Because this is the thing. The court here is saying, the judge here is saying this went on for years. And that's, of course, the claim of the state attorney general in New York, Letitia James. Then you should be able to clearly demonstrate where they broke the law. Because when you say they misled, all right, there are checks and balances in the process of doing business. And especially when we're talking about this, in trying to gain favorable terms with insurers or bankers, appraisals are the key. And that's the question. Show me where, first of all, he was granted favorable terms. Because what they're saying is, we can, in terms of this remedy of, taking his business license away for the state of New York, it's perfectly fine. We don't have to demonstrate that there was damage.
Well, what they're saying is that it's still, for example, if you differ in appraisals, and you consistently, you have a pattern of, for example, lowballing your appraisal, even if the other side does the due diligence, and you come to an agreement that everybody agrees with, and then you go through the transaction, all debts are paid, the contract is completed, that the state can come years later and say, well, since your initial appraisal, because eventually the bank had to agree with an appraisal, and it doesn't seem like anybody's saying that the due diligence wasn't done.
Right.
So what they're saying is, if, like when I did my property taxes here, and I said, I think I can get it really low here, even though I don't think it really is that low. I think I can prove mathematically that it is based on other comps. They disagreed with me. I actually got one person, one of the appraisers did. But the fact is, I did in my mind think, okay, I am lowballing what probably it should be, but I think I can prove it by numbers. Is that fraud on my part?
Is it fraud or is it negotiation? Is it the navigation of seeking favorable terms that everybody is more favorable terms that everybody is looking to get. Because if you go in on a much smaller scale, American Pickers, what became one of the main complaints from viewers on that show? They'd show up at a barn where Farmer Brown has something that they eventually sold for $600, but bought it from Farmer Brown for $3.
Right.
They actually, you could see where they started to, it was like, okay, well, maybe we just kind of, throw that in. I believe both of those guys were fine. I don't have any complaints. I don't believe that they broke the law, but that was well, you should have paid more for that, and blah, 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 blah. Well, Farmer Brown can go get the appraisal on these things. He can seek someone from the outside and say, hey, I don't know. Or he could just say, no, he said $3 was fair. And by the way, maybe part of that was Farmer Brown going, I like these guys. I watch them on TV. I really don't care about the money. I'd like to see, this episode on TV. And I'm good with giving this for $3 because I really don't, it's not about the money for me.
But if you look at this, because imagine how political this could get, because you're talking about the negotiations where, let's say Trump came in and said, and way lowballed it, said, I'm going to see if I can get an advantage here. Mm. I think that all these banks did due diligence.
Yeah.
They all did it.
Yeah.
So because they all came to an agreement on it. So the bank had to agree with the appraisal. There's no way they're lending hundreds of millions of dollars unless, they agree with the appraisal.
Right.
So this is the point that the Trump people are making. So even if Trump came in and said, I believe that this is what the asset's worth, and the bank said, no, we don't think it is. Here's what it is. They come to an agreement on what it is. They write the loan that way. Because remember, they're talking decades this has gone on for.
Right.
So, but every single transaction, as the Trump lawyers say, nobody's complaining. In fact, witnesses that dealt with Trump said there was, nothing to mislead, no evidence of misleading. This is what the Trump lawyers saying now. And again, we're just going with what, the scenario is and asking questions. But it seems like all these transactions were completed. All the debts were paid. Both sides were happy. And the state comes back years later and says, well, because the initial appraisal that Trump gave wasn't accurate or what the appraisal ended up being, therefore that's fraud?
Because what is implied here, I think, by the Attorney General's office, the part of the tone, underlying tone of this seems to be he got away with it because he was Donald Trump. You mean the same Donald Trump that went through 6 bankruptcies?
And
were very public, by the way. He wrote about it in one of his books. This was not something he was trying to hide. The point is that if you're doing business with Donald Trump and you're a bank or an insurer, I would tell you right now, if I'm the CEO of that company, I'm going, due diligence, everybody. I don't have a problem with doing business with them, but let's make sure we cross our T's, dot our I's, and that we move forward with sure footing. It's been very public that, sometimes his businesses didn't work out. We want to make sure that we are able to minimize our risk to the fullest extent possible. It's not hard because and that's what it comes down to.
Well, every bank does it unless they're dealing with the government.
And tell me who isn't seeking more favorable terms, because that's the intent. Are you saying the intent is to seek more favorable terms?
But am I wrong? Every bank does that except when dealing with the government.
Yeah, right.
Because they know the government has the deepest pockets,
right,
and isn't going to default, so they can make a bad deal with. They can make the bad deal with the government, but no bank believes that they can make a bad deal.
Fannie and Freddie
with a private individual.
Yeah. No, I can write this mortgage because I know here in about 30 days, Fannie Mae will come in and buy this off of our books. We're good. We're going to make money off this product.
Yeah,
and they're going to take it from our balance sheet here in about 30 days. And these are the things that when you look at it again. Who's not seeking more favorable terms? That's always the intent. That's always the intent. You're trying to get the product coverage from insurance, from insurers. you're trying to get the line of credit or the bank loans, whatever it is, you're looking for the most favorable terms. In the course of doing business, if this sets a precedent in New York, and then it goes on to a federal court of appeals and is upheld, wow.
Well,
how many scenarios could you say? Oh, this person was trying to get more out of it than the banker got. This person was trying to get more out of it than they were, because that's the intent. Now, if it's fraud, demonstrate where they crossed the line and broke the law.
And on real estate, massive commercial real estate properties, one of the things that I believe it was Accord who said, well, Trump was saying things like, well, I could sell it for a lot more because Saudi Arabia would buy it. Well, would they have?
You know, it would be interesting if he said, okay, we're getting out of New York, and sold all of his properties for like 10 times what he was saying they were worth during the claims, right? He comes away with $50 billion.
But that's why all the banks do due diligence,
right?
Because the real estate market. If homes are one way, think about the real estate market on commercial buildings right now.
Forget about it being Trump. There are companies, commercial real estate companies, that are walking away from their properties and handing it over to the banks right now. This has happened in the last several weeks, where they're saying, we can't do it. The valuation on this property and what we're going to pay with the terms of this current loan, it doesn't add up on our books. We're turning it back over to you. They give the keys back to the bank and they leave. Is that fraud? These are things that you would, because if you can extract fraud out of the normal course of doing business. Again, if he said, well, I own that property, and he didn't own the property, that's fraud.
Yeah.
If he officially claimed that, then that's fraud. Right. That's where you have to go back and demonstrate that. And the square footage thing, all right, then demonstrate that clearly. If we're talking about, well, this was living space, that was commercial real estate, therefore that much of it was commercial real estate is worth more. And the judge brought up an example of controlled rent versus uncontrolled rent and all of that. All right, but still get back to the law that was broken.
Let's put it this way. If that's the law in New York, remember, New York has income tax.
Mm-hmm.
If you attempt to negotiate anything and the state comes back and says you can't claim that deduction, is that fraud?
Right. You claimed a deduction. That's not true.
You don't get it.
Right.
Okay, we figured this out. You don't use 200 square feet for your office. We're only giving you 100.
Right.
Is that fraud?
They're going to go after you
because you were determined.
Hey, what he said about the Saudi Arabia thing, the Saudis could show up and buy it tomorrow. You know, when a celebrity buys a home, then they buy it for $5 million, and then 5 years later they sell it for $20 million. Their name sells it. Is that fraud?
Yeah, the John Voight car.
If I'm willing to buy John Voight's car for $20 million because it was John Voight's car, did he commit fraud against me?
John with an H.
Oh, no, the wrong John.
Get out of the car. 866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So, by the way, when we said the John Voight car, that relates to a Seinfeld episode, in case people don't. A lot of times people don't, may have never watched Seinfeld, and we make episode. References all the time. And then we had just talked about that. Then during the break, we were talking about the Canada's speaker Anthony Rota resigns after inviting the Nazi, and then everybody cheering and a standing ovation for the Nazi in the Canadian Parliament. And,
that's going to burn for a long time.
And when you said, he goes, he said when he said goodbye, you raised your
resigned,
hand, and just like Mr. Pitt did in Seinfeld.
Exactly.
When he had the ink under his nose and he looked like Hitler.
Exactly, yeah. He kind of did the Sieg Heil salute when he said goodbye and resigned as Speaker.
Oh, my God.
I mean, seriously, how does that happen? How does it happen?
And by the way, didn't Trudeau call the people that were protesting COVID and the COVID lockdowns? Didn't he call them Nazis?
I got to go back, but
I believe he did.
Well,
I believe Trudeau did.
It was somebody on social media the other day that said that made the point that the left in Canada and I think it would apply in the U.S. The left, anybody that disagrees with them is a Nazi,
right?
But they're actually giving a standing ovation in Canada to an actual Nazi,
to a real Nazi.
I mean. What the hell? How does that happen? Because like we said yesterday, what are we doing today? Well, we're going to honor this person. They fought against the Russians in World War II.
From Ukraine?
Against the Russians, you said. Yeah. Against the Russians?
They were Nazis.
So a Nazi?
Right. I really, and I asked you the question in all seriousness. I mean, you knew that, but I said, all these people are 20 years younger than me. Mm-hmm. And so do they sit there and they have no idea what happened in World War II? Are we raising such an ignorant, and even in Canada, such an ignorant bunch of people they didn't even know?
Did revisionist history get so bad that we erase too much?
Yes. That's a great question.
Yeah.
The fourth branch of government. Eric Harley and Gary McNamara on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Well, this could be the only logical conclusion. Here we go. Target closing 9 stores. Wonder where they're closing these stores. Where do you think they're closing them? Dallas, maybe?
Nope. Nope. California, West Coast?
Ottumwa?
Nope.
Iowa? No. Target announced Friday that's closing 9 stores in San Francisco, Portland, Seattle, and New York.
Yeah.
Closing 3 stores each in San Francisco, Portland, Oregon, 2 stores in Seattle, 1 New York City store in Harlem, according to the statement on the company's website. The reason? Crime and safety of their employees. The company said it cannot continue operating these stores because theft and organized retail crime are threatening the safety of our team and guests and contributing to unsustainable business performance. Target, by the way, can you get any more left-adjacent friendly than Target?
Yeah, right.
Target can only be successful if the working and shopping environment is safe for all. Target said before making the difficult decision to shut down the stores, it invested heavily in strategies to prevent and stop theft. The company said it added security staffers, hired third-party guard services, upped its investment in cyber defense, and partnered with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security Division focused on combating retail theft. It has also invested in locking cases of products that are prone to theft. Despite our efforts, unfortunately, we continue to face fundamental challenges in operating these stores safely and successfully. Wow. Earlier this year, Target executives said they expected inventory shrink, the industry term for lost or stolen inventory, to reduce the company's profitability by more than $500 million compared to last year. That's profits now. That's not overall sales. That's profits.
Right.
According to the Star Tribune newspaper, last month, Target CEO reported the company's stores saw a 120% increase in thefts involving violence or threats of violence during the first 5 months of the year. Target continues to face an unacceptable amount of retail theft and organized retail crime, and we see the cities are closing in. All the cities that said we care about our citizens, and so let's defund the police.
Yep. This is what was bound to happen. And when the thefts started small, it was inevitable that if something wasn't done about it locally by authorities, that it would reach the level of greater threats of violence, and that's exactly what happened.
Now we have CVS saying it will close 900 stores by the end of 2024, 10% of all of its shops, as it moves to an online strategy amid a major increase in shoplifting.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. They were going to undergo a new retail footprint strategy. CVS and other retailers across the United States continue to adjust to post-pandemic footfall, with COVID helping to turbocharge the popularity of online shopping. More shoppers are turning to buying online in the wake of the pandemic, as well as rocketing levels of shoplifting affecting the stores. And they were clear about it, too. Shoplifting, a major reason that they're closing.
Yeah, this is exactly what was going to happen, what is going to continue to happen until authorities do something about it in these areas.
Yeah.
What did you expect? This was by choice, by the way. There was plenty political will to defund the police and no political will to reverse what's going on in these areas in terms of voting differently or insisting that something be done about this.
If I'm a Republican politician, I'd be saying that all the time.
Yep.
What did you expect?
What did you expect?
What did you think was going to happen? This is what you voted for. And I would go Biden all the way down through the rest of the Democrats. This is what so many people voted for. Mm-hmm. You voted, unfortunately, we voted for this.
Yep.
And we put the party in power that clearly stated this was their goal across the board, whether it's at the board. And then you just lay it out. The border, energy, EVs, you name it.
Yep.
Across the board, the Democratic Party and the left have been involved in the destruction of our society.
Yeah.
And the civility in our society, and not focused on the protection of the law-abiding, innocent citizen of the United States.
And their properties. I mean, we asked, during the entire, was it Summer of Love? What about the residents that live around there have to navigate to work and back?
Some of Seattle and the CHOP and all that. Yeah.
What about the businesses that are there that are being damaged? Oh, it's just love. Yeah. Love is love.
Love is love, except when it's violence.
Yeah. And then violence.
Love is shoplifting.
They're only trying to provide for their families.
Love is violent crime.
Mm-hmm.
Love is murder.
Yeah. Right. This is
idiots.
Insanity. And I don't see any. Think about being, when you're a city leader, part of that job is to what? Invite new business into the city, provide jobs, expand wealth, provide and establish services and products in terms of availability for your local citizens. Nope. That's got to be, man, I can't imagine.
Did you see yesterday the story of of Mayor Adams in New York.
Mm.
All right, if the rest of the state won't take our migrants, we're going to send you our homeless. Like, oh, wow, now that's a campaign slogan.
Oh, yeah, sure. Good luck. And by the way, are they going to go by free will?
I don't know. But I just saw the headline yesterday. I just shook my head, going, they're just nuts. They're all nuts. And you wonder, you can understand. I mean, because it was when we talked. Was it 5 days ago? There wasn't a plane, and I'm like, see the headline: Dallas mayor turns Republican. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And I went, you know something? It is to the point in this country where, because was the backlash at all as big as you thought it was going to be from Democrats in Texas?
No.
Yeah, that's what I was amazed by.
I mean, it was almost silent.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be like, bam.
Especially in Dallas.
Yeah, nothing. Hardly
nothing.
A peep.
Yeah.
Did you hear on this?
Yeah.
Everybody knows.
Oh, yeah. No, they see it. And it goes all the way to the top in the party. All the way to the top.
And I saw more of, Bill Maher complaining. You saw Serpent, James Carville. You saw he was, the Democrats basically are nuts. They're they use the F word, effed up and everything else. It's like, but
you guys are part of it.
You guys are part of it. You pushed it to this point. What did you think you were going to get with identity politics when all Democrats, and they all are still now officially on the national level behind identity politics, which is judging people by groups and not individuals? Again, there was nowhere else you were going to get to except right here, right now.
Yep.
What did you expect?
And then acting shocked.
Yeah.
We built a bonfire. I didn't expect it to burn everything.
I know.
Mostly peaceful protests. The corporate endorsements for Black Lives Matter, and then the official policy of defunding the police.
And you see
bail reform.
Yeah, you see the panic. I didn't think the panic was going to hit this soon before the presidential election and before election time last year, but the panic is full mode. I wonder, I wonder what the internal polls are saying right now. For the Democrats, because the panic over the last 10 days has been loud.
Well, and how do you, if you're a Democrat, because again, we don't expect that in these blue cities and these blue areas that the Republicans are just going to sweep. Unless they actually have a broom, that's not going to happen. But if you're a Democrat and you want to challenge a current Democrat in office, are you going to go against the woke? Are you going to go in and base your campaign on, we need to reverse bail reform? We need to get back to law and order. In Dallas, Texas, Mayor Eric Johnson can say that.
Yeah.
In San Francisco, you cannot, because the mob will come after you. Because they see this as a form, and it's bizarre, of justice. It was the whole point. Defunding the police and bail reform.
I really wonder what the public opinion and what the polls, if you took polls inside of Austin, what they're saying right now. Because Austin is really the most liberal place in the state of Texas, where the insanity and defund the police and everything else, was still there. I wonder what the citizens. I wonder if you took a poll there. Maybe there has been a poll.
I know that, and it's anecdotal, but I mean there have been a number of issues that were addressed or concerns that were issued along the way from small business owners, and. This goes back a few years. I wonder where it is right now. I'm with you in terms if you were to take a poll. But a lot of business owners saying, we can't do this. We can't, just like all these other cities. We're losing everything. And nothing is being done about it. at some point, you can't afford to stay. I've been saying that all along, and that's exactly what CVS and other massive retailers are saying. We can't afford to stay. Think about that. This is not a mom and pop shop downtown. These are massive companies that are saying we can't afford to stay.
Some of the biggest retail outlets in the country.
Yep.
And they're like, sorry, can't do it anymore.
Right.
What did they expect? I would have to ask all liberals, what did you expect?
What did you think was going to happen?
Apparently, the social workers replacing the police couldn't do the job.
Nope, they can't.
Which was idiotic to begin with, as we stated way back then.
And you can't steal from an empty store that's no longer there.
And it all started with the lie that by the way, it all started with the lie that many of these same corporations that are now leaving and retail outlets that are now leaving these areas once embraced. They embraced the beginning of it. They embraced the Black Lives Matter lies about police, which led to their so-called bail reform to fund the police. Everything was based on a lie, and all that's crumbling. The Black Lives Matter crumbling. Kendi crumbling with his so-called management style. That was all based on the lies of critical race theory and the bigotry of critical race theory, which is a falsehood, which judges people by groups and not individuals. Right. It all goes right back to identity politics.
Yep.
This group thinks this way, another group thinks that way. Well, what you get by thinking that way is the destruction of your society, as we're seeing in these major cities today.
Yep.
But the vast majority of corporations bought into the lie of 2020. What you're seeing right now is a result of the lies of the summer of 2020.
Yep.
You're seeing it a little bit over 3 years later. This is the result of it. The crumbling of these cities where the politicians and the people and the voter embraced it. And now you're worried, are we going to be living in a living hell sewer?
It won't be long.
Well, it's what you voted for. It's what your politicians wanted.
Yep.
This isn't an accident. This isn't because there was a natural disaster that you couldn't handle.
And it's not going to change politically.
This was the choice that you made.
Yep.
866-90-RED-EYE.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Some really interesting Hunter Biden news that we'll get to here. A couple of stories out yesterday. None positive, even the ones that were initiated by his camp. Also, Jamie Dimon from J.P. Morgan Chase says the Fed could still raise interest rates sharply. That more on the way.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Biden on the picket line for a couple of minutes yesterday for the UAW. Man, Sean Fain yesterday said it was a good thing that President Joe Biden joined their picket line. The UAW is focusing on its workers and will issue an endorsement when the time is right. He added, and there's still work left to be done. This EV transition, it's important, and we believe in the green economy, but it's got to be a just transition. So we want these, as we move forward in this transition, we want these jobs to have our standards in them. It cannot be a race to the bottom, and that's what these companies are trying to push. They're all for taking all of our tax dollars, helping finance this transaction, but when it comes to taking care of the workers, the companies keep trying to take us backwards, and that's unacceptable. So there's still work to do. Later, Wolf Blitzer, can't believe we went to the same high school I did, read from the 2024 Republican presidential candidate, former President Donald Trump's criticism of Biden's EV policies, and asked, is the former president right? Does the push for electric vehicles here in the United States hurt your union? Fain answered, it doesn't if it's a just transition. Right there, all UAW workers, you've been throwing your union dues right down the toilet.
Yep.
And your president continues, we're not talking the president of the United States, even though he continues to lie, but your president of the UAW, Shawn Fain, is lying to you. You know that if you are forced to go to the mandates of the federal government, you're not stupid. You know if you produce a product that can't make a profit, that no way long term is the government going to subsidize your jobs to the salary and benefits that you have come to expect. That is impossible. The only chance you have is if the automobile companies can make vehicles that they can make a profit on. Shawn Fain, through all of this, still is lying to you UAW members, and you are paying him his salary to lie to you. Now, that's where liberalism is going. We know this. Mm-hmm. We know the Democratic Party is lying about what they believe and what is happening on a consistent basis. There is, no shock to understand that Shawn Fain is doing the exact same thing. He is lying to the union workers. He knows. He's not an idiot. He knows the automobile companies and the unions cannot survive making electric vehicles.
Nope. And so really the only choice, if they're going to continue making electric vehicles, is to take a lot more government money to pay the union salaries. And they would become public unions.
Right. But he's blaming the companies for where the future of automobile manufacturing is going in this country. And we all know the automobile companies are not in control of that. It's the federal government, and specifically the Democrats and the left, that have promoted all of this. Some Republicans have gone along, and we disagree with them, but the major push is from all Democrats.
Well, and do we believe the UAW is going to endorse a Republican?
No, of course not.
So they're going to endorse the continuation of this policy. This is what they will endorse.
The continuation that you and I first, really, the first big benchmark was the West Virginia Coal Miners Union back in 2008, endorsing Obama when he publicly had made it clear to the San Francisco Chronicle that his goal was to destroy their jobs. And they said, that's the guy. And now the same thing is happening. And the president of the United Auto Workers is lying to his union members that EVs are a way to a successful union and a successful union model in the future. Your president, if you're a UAW worker, thinks you are a complete moron. If you're a United Auto Worker, you're a moron, you're an idiot.
Yep.
That you can't see that making products that can't make a profit that the public doesn't want is the death of unions and your union in this country. Mm-hmm. You know it.
Yep.
We know it. It's common sense. And the only conclusion is Shawn Fain is lying to you. Because all he wants, he's hoping for a huge government subsidy that goes to the unions, hopefully for the next couple of years. And then after that, it's done.
Yep.
Those subsidies will not continue.
And it's, there is no turning around to these mandates under any Democratic administration. It's not going to happen.
Nope. And the thing is, every union member listening right now, if you're in Michigan, you're in Detroit,
you know it.
You know we're telling you the absolute truth. Your president, and the thing that's galling is you're paying your dues for his salary, and he's planning your union destruction.
He's going to be fine.
We said this a long time ago when we were called anti-union. Mm-hmm. And we said, nope, the most anti-union people in this country right now is a union leadership.
Oh, yeah, by far.
And we were right on that. We weren't wrong.
They're clinging to and we go back years when you could still say politically the Democrats were pro-manufacturing. We go back that far.
Yeah. Yep.
But eventually we knew it would come to this. And today they really don't make any excuses at all as a party. They're very clear. They don't want manufacturing. You can learn to code.
The UAW leadership believes that the average UAW member is a complete idiot and moron and cannot see what's actually happening. That's what they think of you.
Yep.
I have to wonder, have they asked for an increase in dues? Because that would be the next logical step, right?
Yeah.
Since we're planning your destruction, could you guys and gals pay more dues to us? So we can have our own golden parachute.
Right, yeah.
And he acts so indignant and angry. What a fraud he is.
Yeah.
Sean Fain's the biggest fraud that exists out there. I'm outraged by this. Mm-hmm. You're a fraud.
Hey, does the union get to vote on who they're going to endorse?
That'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
I'd love to see it.
Yep. Just amazing. Just amazing.
Because it is now. We're down to the wire.
Yeah.
We're at a crossroads. I don't think it's going to be reversed. We're looking at the end game here. I don't think it's going to turn around for the union because it's not going to turn around. The mandates aren't going to turn around. So these companies are going to continue to lose profits, and something is going to happen. There's going to be a drastic change, and it will not include the union.
Simple. You have a long-term future, UAW, or you have a longer-term future, UAW, if you produce gasoline and diesel vehicles. Mm-hmm. You have no future with the mandates that the Democrats are proposing. You know it, and we know it.
Right.
Yep. And it does make sense when you think about it, when you think about what the Democrats are doing. If you want an example of what's happening with pure Democratic leadership, you look at the big cities that we have today. You look at what the Biden administration is doing with illegal immigration and everything. It's absolutely clear.
Yeah.
And so if the leadership of the Liberal Party, the Democratic Party, is going to lie to their constituents, what makes you think? Why would it should have been any different? And we've been saying this since 2008. The worst enemy of the union movement in this country is the union leadership that you're paying your dues to.
Yep.
That's the thing that angers me a little bit, though, is when and I know it does you too, because we've been looking at this union leadership when they get angry,
Well, every political year as we ramp up to the political season, it's the same thing. And now, of course, you couple it with the strike. How dare they? You're asking for it. And officially, when they get to the endorsement part, they'll be asking for it. That will be the official move. To say, We don't care about the future. We're here for our political ties to the left, and that's it.
Let's quickly go to Tom in Detroit. Tom, you're on Red Eye Radio.
Oh, try again.
You're on Red Eye Radio.
Say that I know Mr. Red Eye Radio, yeah.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that I know Mr. Fain, and Mr. Fain is not a liar. So everybody has an agenda. Everybody has marching orders, and also our dues. Our dues are paid for what we already have, not what we're going to get, because that's yet to be determined. So I just took offense. Normally I side with you guys, but I took offense by calling Mr. Fain a liar. They have a plan.
Then he's a complete idiot. He's either a liar or an idiot. Yes, he is.
No, sir.
Yes, he is.
You're telling us that the policy that mandates these EVs, which is causing the demise of these companies, isn't the problem?
Fain is the one that says the future is electric vehicles. He's lying to you, Tom. He's lying.
Gary, I strongly disagree with you at this point. I mean,
you're telling me that electric vehicles is what's going to bring your union to success?
Nobody can determine that yet, can you? You got a crystal ball, Gary, out there in Texas?
We don't have to have that to know that these companies are losing money. They lose $60,000 on each one.
Ford's been losing $60,000 on every electric vehicle that they make, and that's with the subsidies. Do the math.
Well,
as I said, either you're being delusional because you want to stick with the union movement, or you're lying if you're the leadership to the union members. You cannot succeed.
Nobody's lying. Come on, that's an exaggeration.
So you're saying it's a.
You're trying to frame something by.
You don't see the losses on these EVs.
Sure, I do. I pay attention. I'm a stock market.
Then tell me. Then where's the gap in your math?
If I knew that, I wouldn't be in my truck talking to you.
You don't know.
No. Tom, we just told you they're losing money, massive amounts right now. Tell me how that's a good business model.
Gary, in the EV program, but in their ICE engine vehicles, they're not. They can't keep up with the 150 production. That's why they're on strike to hurt them.
They're not going to.
Common sense here.
It has to be subsidized by the taxpayer to stay afloat.
They're not making money on it.
Gary, you're all fired up today. The Broncos are one of their best-selling vehicles, and they're an ICE engine, contain an ICE.
Let's talk profits.
Yeah, we're talking profits, and if you're talking profits and you're talking success through profits, you might as well, if you're talking about the Bronco, talk about the Denver Broncos last week. Because Tom, I'm telling you, I'm sorry, dude. With all due respect, you're delusional.
Yeah.
You're absolutely delusional, and you're buying into the liberal leadership lie.
Tom, we're talking about profits.
Eric, talk some sense into your buddy.
Tom,
listen, I know
I'm
Mr.
trying
Fain,
to talk some
Mr.
sense
Fain
into
is
you.
Not a liar.
I'm trying to talk some sense into you.
That's Eric, not me.
Profits. Where are the profits on EVs?
Okay, I'm not a cost COO guy.
Tom, you don't have to be. You don't have to be. Don't play that, man. Don't play that.
So you're saying your lack of knowledge. So you're saying your lack of knowledge is your evidence.
Your high school debate team strategy is paying off. Listen, I'm not sure how this is all going to play out. We went into the tunnel. We're probably halfway in the tunnel, and we're going to come out victorious.
For now.
Appreciate it.
Well, yeah.
Appreciate your call, but your argument is I'm ignorant and don't know what's going on, and therefore it's unfair when you state that the projection of making an unprofitable product that the public doesn't want to buy, that is cost prohibitive to the average consumer, which is what the American automobile industry survived on for the last 100 years.
You don't have to be a COO or a CEO to know about profits and losses. You know what's happening.
And if you wish to be a union lemming, that's fine. Same thing we were told when the coal miners called us back in 2008.
Yep. We support the endorsement for Obama, who by that time had promised to kill their industry, and he did.
But thanks. But yeah, I get excited because I hate seeing people lose their jobs. And I hate seeing union membership lie to their union members. Or if he's not lying, he's completely unqualified to be the head of a union.
Yep.
866-90 Red Eye.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on speed and space management. In order to manage speed, you need to understand the 4 factors involved in stopping a vehicle. Perception distance is the distance a vehicle travels from the time you see a hazard until your brain recognizes it. The perception time for an alert driver is approximately 3/4 of a second. Reaction distance is the distance a vehicle travels from the time your brain tells your foot to move from the accelerator until your foot hits the brake pedal. The average driver has a reaction time of 3/4 of a second. Brake lag distance also needs to be taken into account. When operating a vehicle with air brakes, it takes about half a second for the mechanical operation to take place. Finally, braking distance is the distance it takes a vehicle to stop once the brakes are applied. Braking distance is affected by the weight, length, and speed of the vehicle, as well as road condition. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio. You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, I shouldn't be getting upset on my birthday. You know, that's.
I always make it a point to get upset on my birthday. I look for things to get angry about.
Look, I know I got hot in the last segment, but there is nothing I've seen in my long life. I've seen too many people lose jobs. Yeah. And I don't care whether you're a union worker or not a union worker. I don't like it when people lose jobs. I don't like it when management lies or when union leadership lies. I don't like it when government lies. I don't like it when management lies. I don't like it when union leaders lie to cover across the board. And by the way, to Tom, Eric and I have, because he kept saying and Eric, you were actually talking. He thought you were me, I think, at times. But we have the same agreement on this with the leadership of the UAW and the leadership of many unions out there over the last 20 years, jumping aboard on the whole climate change.
It's maddening. It's maddening to see this happen where they are asking for and officially endorsing the destruction of their own industry. I don't even know where to start in terms of wrapping my brain around that.
And that's where my fury came from. Because there's fury. You heard me furious. I'm furious, and I'm furious at how gullible people are. And I'm furious, Tom. And look, I know, and I thank you for listening, Tom, because you said you have and you agree with us most of the time, and I really, really appreciate that. But I'm furious because in my mind, to be blunt, I view you as being gullible because you claim you have no idea of the economics of electric vehicles, but you trust your union leadership. Well, I don't trust anybody. I'm sort of like the nuclear arms deals of the 80s. Mm-hmm. Trust and verify, mm-hmm. which means the verify is a very important part of trust, which means understanding economics. The economic model is not there. For the economic model not to be there and say, but I blindly trust someone, doesn't cut it here on Red Eye Radio.
No, I mean...
It may cut it if you're dealing with union leadership. I don't think it cuts it with the majority of the UAW that actually believes that the success of the automobile companies which is the success of the unions, is a better shot of happening than if you were producing gasoline and diesel vehicles.
Right.
I don't think anybody buys it. And I've seen Biden. I've seen the union. We've seen the union leadership promote illegal immigration against what the union members want. And by the way, this is not. It's a completely different discussion that we have about unions and where they're going in the private sector, because we've known what's happening. This is not a discussion on this. This is a discussion on jobs right now as it exists right now. And there are people that work without unions. There are people that work with unions. But the fact is, the union leadership on illegal immigration has, over and over again, has supported what their membership does not agree with.
Right.
You saw Biden come in day one, tens of thousands of union jobs gone. Did you hear the Democrats come out and say, the union leadership come out and say, this is it, we can't support Biden. We may remain neutral, we may not support Republicans, but we're not going to support Democrats anymore. Did you hear that? No. And they killed those jobs for no reason at all. None, except imagery and symbolism. We saw the coal miners union. We saw what happened there. It's not like there's a history of this, and we got the same. Well, you guys don't understand because you're conservative right-wingers who hate unions. Well, I hope you can sleep well at night blaming somebody else. And I'm not saying that the union leadership could stop what's going on, but there are certain things where the union leadership could have been louder and said, we cannot survive with this business model. And we do support management on wanting to make a profit with gasoline and diesel-powered engines.
And if UAW comes out and says we're no longer going to endorse the Democratic Party because we believe that they are part of the demise, then we can have a conversation.
Yeah. But remember, we're not alone on this. Lawrence Summers, who is as liberal Democrat as you can get with the Obama administration, when asked what's going on, had the exact same thoughts we had. This looks like the end game. Get as much as you can now because the business model is going to fail.
Yep.
And the business model is going to fail, which means then the union fails. And I hope, I don't see it. Man, I hope I'm wrong. That we get politicians in there that can reverse. I think eventually you have to reverse the mandates because it's not going to work.
Right, yeah.
I don't see it anytime soon. You have to reverse this. It's like the grid. You have to reverse what they plan on doing to the grid because the public will not accept it.
Right.
And as we have said, if you wish the unions to survive in non-right-to-work states, you better be producing a product that produces a profit. If you can criticize me or us, whatever, for our anger and fury you heard, I don't believe you can criticize us for our actual opinion on the logic of economics and whether the UAW or anybody can survive, whether you're a private sector worker or union worker, survive on a business model that is planned to lose money.
We're seeing it happen in real time right now. And yet we still can't get a union worker that was the question I had to him. You see the profits going away right now, don't you? Well, I'm not a CEO. You're not willing to look. You're either blinded by your loyalty to the union or you're not being honest.
And sorry, that's just, and it comes back up to me again. I burn when you've got, people lying or living in a delusional state and people lose their jobs because of it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's the one thing, the one thing that because all workers work hard.
Yeah, right.
I know. Union shops, you work hard. Everybody's working hard. This gets down to the individual and how horrible it is to lose a job and the feeling that you have when you lose a job and when it doesn't have to happen. And in this case, because of the strength of the Democratic Party that has been supported, I don't know of more support for the Democratic Party than unions in this country. Do you? No, I don't know of any other organization. And the BS of the climate change is not just now. So you could sit there and go, well, it's not all, Sean Fain's fault. No, but he's a continuation of that leadership that has, it's been over the last 20 years.
If they issue an endorsement for the reelection of the current administration,
yeah,
then they're officially asking for the demise of their industry.
Let's go to Deanna in Virginia. Deanna, welcome. You're on the show. Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Welcome.
I just wanted to tell you that I am a UAW member, and I do agree with you. And I sent Sean Fain an email the other day, and I told him that if Biden was the biggest union president that was ever, that he would not have cut that many jobs on his first day in office. And I said, the only thing he wants is your money and your vote. He could care less about the American people. And I told him, I said, I also voted for Trump, and I voted for you, Sean Fain, and I also pay union dues. So I think it's best that we do not endorse either candidate and just kind of stay neutral. I'm right there with you. But as far as that electric vehicle, it's trash. And if people realize with the battery, I mean, they're expensive. We're building trucks now, and we cannot get the battery for the electric truck. So if you bought you an electric truck, if we can't get them at the manufacturing plant, how are you going to get yours?
You make a great point, because it's not just about the fact that they can't sell them for a profit. And by the way, there are some some of these vehicles are actually great vehicles to drive. But are they practical for the individual? And when you look at, and this is the other thing too, not just the economics right now of it, but the economics of the future. When you talk about the supply chains, where the Democrats don't want lithium mines here in the United States.
Nope.
They want to depend on all of our enemies, which is going to skyrocket the cost. Well, not all of them are enemies, but many of our adversaries, where there's a ton of lithium. And just like oil and natural gas, they don't want union workers to be able to take that out of the ground here, and they don't want union mine workers going after the lithium in the United.
Just found another massive source of lithium in northern Nevada, and the extremists will make sure that nothing is going to be produced from anything out of the ground, and that's going to be the policy of the left as they follow all these activists, as they have for years.
Let us go to Tony in West Virginia. Tony, welcome. You're on Red Eye Radio. Welcome to the show. Hi.
I have a question for my union brother, Tom. Why do I have to pay more out of my pocket so you can have your better wages?
You mean not from your union dues, you mean your taxes. Your taxes, you mean.
Correct.
Right. Yeah. That's a question that we've asked, because that's what he's not saying it directly, but that's what he's implying. The company is getting loads of tax dollars. We believe that we should get part of it because of the profits that they've had, and they have had profits, but it's actually, when you look at a union contract, and I know Tom said we don't pay the union dues, we pay the union dues for what we have, not what we're going to get. No, that's ridiculous. Of course, you pay your union dues for what you possibly can get in the next contract.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
of course you
do. Thanks,
Tony.
Tony.
People look to the future. It's just not, well, we pay your union dues for what we're getting right now. No, you pay for all of it.
Yeah. Comes from your money that you earn.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's our Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Talking about the UAW, Biden visiting the picket line yesterday, and Sean Fain coming out and saying that, that green energy is a way to go as long as there's a just transition, which we took as saying, okay, since the company got taxpayer subsidies, you give us the subsidies. He's not telling his union the truth. And we got pushback from somebody who knew him last hour. And, of course, I'll say we, but more I, just, sort of lost it because this is about, I don't care whether you're a union worker or private sector worker, people are losing their jobs because of the insanity of liberalism.
An entire industry is being destroyed.
Yep, and it has to stop.
And this is just one of the number of many industries that are being destroyed and have been over the years, and we watched it happen in the Obama years. We've watched it happen since, and this, right now, we're seeing it. This is it. This is the final train. We're getting aboard the final train, and this kind of what we know today as the domestic auto production in the U.S., it's going to be over. It's going to be the companies will be cut up because they'll have to be sold. They may go offshore and produce vehicles. The union will be gone.
No industry has ever rose to greatness or profitability by the government dictating the product that it must make that the public is not asking for, that is actually less productive and inefficient from what currently is on the market. And it doesn't happen that way.
And greatly more expensive.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah.
Price point is number one.
Yep. More of your calls coming up. A lot of people want to participate in this, and we'll do it next.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood.